Hey, look out. It is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
And I'm Morgan Levine.
It is so good to see David Cooper, Dr. David Cooper of Mount Paran in that screen there as you're watching Zoom, and some of you are listening to the radio. Doctor, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How about you guys? Nice to be with you today.
Thank you for hanging with us. We wanted to get with you. We've been talking to our guests about the pandemic, COVID-19. A lot of pastors, a lot of leaders, they're having to stream services. You are as well. When this whole thing started, a lot of fear, a lot of panic. And we just wanted to check in with you as we progress through this thing. We're believing, we're going to get to the other side of it. So what are you saying to all the folks, not only the folks in your church, but those that are asking you questions and saying, David, what is going on? What are you telling them?
Well, first of all, I don't focus a lot on the virus because it's better to focus on your goals than your problems. And furthermore, the government and the health agencies are constantly giving people guidelines. So the church is here not to provide redundancy to giving people health lessons, but to give them hope and expectation and to put it into perspective. The pandemic, like all of life's problems, at first seem bigger to us than they are in reality. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing, when they're showing more statistics, that the reality is not nearly as great as what the panic was about, which is good. And people's fears are going down to the hopes, because when you start hypothetically playing out what could possibly happen, that's the worst thing the human mind can do, is imagine the worst possible thing. Mm-hmm. So we're here as a counterbalance to say, well, there are the promises of God and there are the realities of life. So focus on where we're going. How do we stay productive in the moment? How do we keep our church community strong? We're scattered, but we're not separated spiritually. Mm-hmm. Acts 8:1, it says that on that day, the day that Stephen, the first martyr, died in the streets of Jerusalem, Acts 8:1 says, on that day, a great persecution broke out against the church, and the disciples were scattered everywhere. Well, a pandemic broke out and the church was scattered, but it's not separated. Mm-hmm. So we're meeting in homes, and every time that I do the services and the messages, I talk about, we're like the early church. We're meeting in our homes right now. We didn't have buildings like this for the first 300 years of the church's history. We were small pockets of communities. And so we're kind of back to that. So focusing on where we're going, we're going to get through this. I do think that the government assistance of the Paycheck Protection Program is brilliant and is in order when the government says, would y'all please not meet? So those are wonderful benefits. And I think those practical things of the money have helped to alleviate a lot of people's anxieties at this time. So those are the things that I'm emphasizing. And on the Sunday sermons, I just preach the word. I pray about the virus and lead everybody in prayer for God's healing grace. But I don't focus on the problem. I focus on the promise.
Now, Dr. Cooper, lots of folks obviously having to stay at home with the quarantine, and we're supposed to stay at home, and people are not used to being at home with their families and having all this time together. How would you encourage people to take advantage of this time while we are all home together?
Well, I'm teaching our people to develop new routines. What's happened is that our routines were disrupted. Now they've been completely destroyed. And so this left people very displaced, many people battling depression, they're not sure what to do themselves. So develop new routines. And there are three key ones: worship, walk, and work every day, and in that order. Begin every day with worship, commune with God, remember your life is in his hands. Then second of all, walk, get outside and physically move. Do not sit still physically. Mm-hmm. You'll never feel better emotionally than you feel physically. A lot of our emotional issues are directly connected to our poor health, and that we kind of live a lifestyle where we sit around a lot by nature. We sit in our cars every day. We drive a lot. We sit in offices. So the more right now, especially that people can get outside in the sun and experience nature, the better that they will feel. And work every day. Find ways of working. And in the church, it's very difficult for our people, like the pastors, because the church is not open right now. Many people can go to work at some levels, but they're learning how to do ministry through technology, through phone calls. And so those three things will give you a good routine for the day. First thing is you get up and worship, you get outside and move, and then work every day.
Now, Dr. Cooper, you mentioned earlier that we are becoming more like the early church in this time by having to meet at our homes and watch via, obviously they didn't have Zoom then, but through
No.
live streams. And so do you think that this is causing the Christians and the church as a whole to become stronger through this? And do you think we'll be stronger as a unit moving forward once all this passes?
I think the strong churches are getting stronger and the weak churches are getting weaker.
Hmm.
What I mean by that is there's a prevailing notion that trials make us better, and that's not true. The trial plus the perception of the trial is what makes us better or bitter. Job and his wife, for example, in that ancient story of the Old Testament, went through the same trial as a family. It was a horrible story that they went through with financial loss and health crisis and even the death of their children in a storm. But Job said, though God slay me, yet shall I trust him. Job's wife said, curse God and die. So the trial does not make the person, but the trial does reveal what the person is made of. And what's happening right now is that churches that are not built on the foundation of Christ and the apostles, which we read, they're not built on biblical truth, they're not built on preaching the gospel, of telling people about Jesus, they're not built on community and commitment. Those churches will get weaker now because it's going to reveal their weakness. But the people that are committed, that are built on the right things, that have the right mission as Christ gave us, they'll get stronger because it will reveal what we're made of. It makes us more resilient, more determination, have more determination to fulfill our mission in the world. So some churches will get weaker, their finances will go down, the churches will grow stronger through it.
David Cooper is the lead pastor of Mount Paran. You can also hear Dr. Cooper at Faith Talk Atlanta on Sundays, 590 WDWD at 12 p.m. Right after your service, if you're going to a church, check out that program. Dr. Cooper is an amazing teacher. So we got to wrap up here. We're getting ready to take a break. David, I wanted to ask you, as we get out of this, do you feel like this is drawing those that maybe have been on the fence, those that have been lukewarm, those that have been lost? Is this something that that you're seeing causing them to cry out to God, get into the church? Do you think that's what's happening? And where do you see that as we progress?
Well, when I go through a drive-through, for example, of a few places, because in this part of Atlanta, a lot of people know me. I meet them every day, everywhere I go. People do, like I'll go to the Chick-fil-A and get some diet lemonade, a gallon, and take it home. I want to support their business, or
Right.
a few other places. And they do ask me spiritual questions and that type of thing. So I think any type of adversity does make people think about God and spirituality and things that really matter. I think that's kind of what's happening to us right now. We are thinking more about the things that matter the most.
Mm.
I'm not saying the little things don't matter, but we're thinking more about the things that matter the most. I would think there is a heightened sense of spirituality. The difficulty we have in American culture is it's getting more and more secular, and there's more of an outright attack against not just the Christian faith. You see a lot of anti-Semitism and just religion in general. Of any religion, we see more and more just outright attacks by people in the media, by comedians. And so over time, there's a weakening of the Christian faith and values that's really becoming pretty evident now. This is the first time in American history we're now, by statistics, showing a decrease of professing Christians in the American culture. It's the first time we're beginning to see that. So I would hope and pray that people would look up. You know, they're looking out at the situation. I pray that they would look up to God, because he is our only source and hope during this time.
Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for your time. God's blessings to you, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you for inviting me. God bless all of you. Stay safe.
We appreciate
Thank you. You too. We'll be back. It is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
And I'm Morgan Levine.
Stay right there.